Mark chapter 1, verse 21, it goes on, it says, "And they went into Capernaum, and straightway on the Sabbath day he entered into the synagogue and taught. And they were astonished at his doctrine, for he had taught them as one that had authority, and not as the scribes." Matthew chapter 7. There's the same realization that he taught with authority in here and not as the scribes. That means dead religion has no heavenly authority. But Jesus is one that has the authority. And here it says, so he came, the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus came to give life, life more abundantly. Jesus is God in the flesh. So the reason there is authority, because Jesus is God in the flesh. And he has all authority in heaven and earth. And they were astonished at his doctrine. His doctrine was not contrary, because he's God. It's not contrary to what he intended, but they were astonished because they were not getting fed. They were getting just the milk of the word. And by the way, love the baby Christians. Churches grow by 1, kids being born by families; 2, people being saved; 3, people going from one church to another. But with that being said, you can never spoil a baby in the natural world for too much for about the first year. Love them, encourage them, smile, all these other things. But there comes and baby Christians need to be treated with as much love as possible. But I think sometimes there are misunderstandings that come in people's minds, because baby Christians think you're saying this when you're not. Or they're misunderstanding the Bible. So with that being said, love them, encourage them, and teach the truth, love them, all these things. But sometimes pastors get in headaches because they're misunderstanding, where people get one person against the other or whatever, because there are misunderstandings going on. But with that being said, Mark 1:22, and they were astonished at his doctrine, because they weren't getting the meat. The Pharisees could not teach with authority, because they had, even though not all religion is bad. We need to be in church, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. But if you get under somebody who is a 50-year grounded pastor and they're really solid, you've never heard certain things being said, it might be because you haven't been around churches where they go that if you're preaching the Word of God correctly, if the Word of God is being preached correctly, then you haven't heard it before, and you'll be astonished. But in Mark 1:22, and they were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one that had authority, and not as the scribes. And there was in